So right now we've got a minimal all-in-one OpenStack that is up and running, and we can start configuring it. Before diving into the details in the next lessons, I want to show you the big picture. And the big picture is going to explain you how to manage OpenStack with Horizon. So first we are just going to click together our configuration, and once we verified that that is working, we can zoom into the configuration of the different components. And I want you to understand what is involved in deploying instances in an OpenStack cloud environment. So this slide is summarizing everything. We see there's a router, there's an internal network, there's an external network that need to be configured. We already have the internal network, we have the external network, which is set on the ETH1 and the ETH0. Again, I'm going to explain that in more detail later. So here we've got our router, and the internal network needs to be connected to the router. And also the external network needs to be connected to the router. If you want your instance to be operational, you should make sure that networking is fully functional before doing anything else. Then we've got an image. That's a glance image. And you are going to add a flavor to the image. So what you can see here is the flavor settings that are defined in some document, like 4 gigs of RAM, 4 CPUs, 20 gigs of storage, and whatever you want to be using for your virtual machine. And we need a volume as well, which is what is going to be used by the virtual machine for the persistent storage. And from there we are going to create the instance. So the instance is booting from the image, plus the flavor applied, plus the volume, and it is going to connect to the internal network. And the result, if the instance needs to connect to anywhere, it will use the internal network. Does it need to go to the internet? It is going to use the router to connect to the external network as well. In order to do so, the instance needs to be known on the external network. And that is going to be accomplished by adding a floating IP address. And also, we need to open the firewall on the instance. That is going to be accomplished by adding a security group. And we need to be able to access the console on the instance. And in order to do so, we need to add an SSH key as well, which allows you as an administrator to log in to the console of the instance and to work from the instance. And this is what summarizes the process of creating an instance. So let's look at it again. In order to create an instance, we need to create an internal network. We need to define a router. We need to create an external network. We need to make sure that an image is available. We need to create a flavor. We need to create a volume, and then we can boot the instance. And once the instance has booted, 3 more steps remain. We need to add a floating IP, we need to add a security group, and we need to add an SSH key. And if you know how to do all this, you're going to pass the exam. Let's move on and see how it works in my upcoming demo.